On October 20th at 6:07 p.m. to order. All alderpersons are present except for Mr. Rayom. Mr. Joe Zerflu is attending via Zoom. First item on our business is Pledge of Allegiance and silent prayer. Amen. Okay, we have the next item is recognition of Community Media Awards. Jim Walsh, if you would want to come up here, please, and also Joe Bachman. If you want to come up, or is Joe here? If you want to come up by Jim? I guess so, everybody. I'll give you a chance to speak in a second, Jim. I just want to publicly recognize a few city staff who recently earned awards for their work in local media. On October 2nd, local media legend Jim Walsh joined Wisconsin Community Media Hall of Fame. Walsh is the former director of River Cities Community Access, now known as Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Jim started his journey with the Media Center on the city's Oversight Commission for Community Television and was hired in 1993 to be its director. With over 17 years, Walsh built a media center where not only could volunteers and students learn the craft of broadcast television and production, but hone their creative abilities to provide expansive content for the Wisconsin Rapids community. In addition, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media brought home 10 awards for the Best of the Midwest Annual Media Festival. This includes merit awards won by Assistant Multimedia Specialist Kevin Barringer and 2 Achievement Awards and multiple merit awards won by our Multimedia Coordinator, Joe Bachman. I would like to congratulate Jim and Joe Bachman and Kevin Barringer on their recognition and continued future success. You can watch Wisconsin Rapids Community by tuning into Solaris Channel number 3, Spectra Media 985, or visit their website to add Wisconsin Rapids Community Media to your Roku devices. So we have Jim Walsh and Joe Bachman. Thank you. Congratulations. Jim, like to say some few words? Hit the button. Is it push?
There, how's that? That's better. One thing I do have to say, Mr. Mayor, 17 and a half years, and Sue will testify to this, never more than 1 or 2 minutes late, right, Sue? We did good. I want to thank the recognition time here. I appreciate it. As the mayor said, 17 and a half long years, developed it from a little kitchen type room in the library to what it is now. And it's just become so much, a whole lot extra than I ever dreamed of. These meetings especially, because I started doing these, I believe it was 1992. And we had one camera, and we had to go on one side. It was by an alderman's choice, Carol Broker. Never wanted to be on camera, so we always had to be right behind her all the time. And it worked out real good. The other one I remember about council meetings is Glenn Pascavas. 1 banana, 2 banana, that's how he determined the meetings would go, and he was good about that. So, Shane, I want to just thank everybody for what I did these years. I just enjoyed it, and I did it, somebody said it this morning, I did it because I'm a people-to-people person, and that's probably what I'll be always until the time I go, which I hope is a long, long way from now. So I guess that's all I have to say. I keep it short. Thank you very much. I did show it, I hope I could, pass it around, but if I pass it around, I'll be in big trouble. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Next item is the reading of the minutes of the previous meetings held on September 15th and September 21st. See attachments, and what are your wishes?
Make a motion to accept the balance of the minutes from previous meetings and place on file.
We have a motion by Koth and seconded by Mr. Veneman. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next is consider a resolution extending the emergency declaration proclamation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Council?
I'll move to continue the declaration until the next meeting.
We have a motion by Mr. Zerflu, second by Mr. Kellogg. Mr. Koth?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have a problem voting in favor of this, but I believe with, as long as this has been going on and with the number of cases, I mean, I've known people that have now had COVID and recovered, but we are the city government, and I know in the case, if the mayor is unable to perform his duties, that duty would then fall to the president of the council to act in the mayor's stead. But what I'm getting at here is if we have multiple people that do get COVID-19 and have serious symptoms where they're unable to perform the duties of their office, aside from the mayor and the council or president, if by next month we can see something like how the government would still function if we lost a significant number of people and that could not govern for a period of time.
Sounds good. I can follow up with the city attorney by then. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Kubishek? Oh, no problem. Mr. Zerflu, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 6 ayes, 1 nay. Next item is to consider accepting a bid and authorizing award to construct or awarding a contract to Bulk Storage Inc. for the design, furnishing, and construction of a sludge storage building for the wastewater treatment plant operations. Mr. Terry?
So the wastewater utility budgeted to construct a 70 by 112 building over the sludge storage pad for 2020. $290,000 was budgeted for that project. Bids were opened, and the city received one bid within the engineering estimate for $284,860 from Bulk Storage Solutions. That bid was reviewed and found to be acceptable by the engineering department. Therefore, the staff recommendation is to award a contract to design, furnish, and erect a 70 by 112 sludge storage building to Bulk Storage Solutions for $284,860.
Thank you. And it also been gone through wastewater, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. What are your wishes, council?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion by Benke. And seconded by Mr. Koth. Any further discussions? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflo?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next item is consider for adoption the action of the Planning Commission at the meeting held on October 5th, 2020. The Plan Commission met at 4 p.m. on October 5th in the City Council chambers and via teleconference. Members present are listed on file at the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 4 p.m. First item was approval of the reports from the September 21st, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Questions were asked by Plan Commission staff regarding conditions for approval set forth from the last meeting and were addressed by city staff. Motion by Bemke, seconded by Hanson to approve the report from September 21st, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. That motion carried 5 ayes and 0 nays. Number 2, Plan -20-0817, Community Development Department, public hearing and action on a request to amend the zoning code, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code to identify and define a light manufacturing assembly use, including placement within the zoning districts. The public hearing was called to order at 4:14 p.m. No one spoke in favor or against. The hearing was closed at 4:15. Questions about the use table in the zoning code were asked by Plan Commission members and elaborated upon by the community development staff, as well as some of the types of uses which require review by Plan Commission. Motion by Bemke to approve Plan 20-0817, seconded by Hanson. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Plan 20-0720, Community Development Department, public hearing and action on a request to amend the zoning code, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code, to modify the secondary review requirements for uses. That public hearing was called to order at 4:29 p.m. Nobody spoke in favor nor against. That public hearing was closed at 4:30 p.m. Planning Commission members generally discussed tabling the item for a future meeting date to allow for more detailed review before bringing it to a vote. Motion by Feith and seconded by Blazer to table Plan 20-0720. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Item 4 was adjournment. Motion by Bemke, seconded by Mayor Blazer to adjourn. That motion carried 6 ayes, 0 nays. Meeting adjourned at 4:40 p.m. And what are your wishes, council?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Koth, seconded by Veneman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next item is consider the adoption the action of the standing committees for the Common Council. First one is Finance and Property meeting held October 6, 2020. Mr. Koth?
Thank you, Your Honor. Property and Finance Committee meeting was held via remote video conferencing on Tuesday, October 6, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. All members of the Property and Finance Committee were present, with myself attending via remote. Also in attendance were Alderperson Veneman, Mayor Blazer, Tim DeSorsi, Jeff Kuhn, Jim Brown, Jennifer Gossick, and Sue Schill via remote. A list of others on attendance is in file with the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 4:36 p.m. The first item was review and consider for approval an ordinance which would authorize Waterworks and Lighting Commission to place delinquent electric bills as special charge on the property tax roll. See attached ordinance. It was moved by Koth, seconded by Kellogg, to approve the ordinance that would authorize the Waterworks and Lighting Commission to place delinquent electric bill as special charges on the property tax roll. Attachment number 1, motion carried. Next item was review and consider for approval an intergovernmental services agreement with Southwood County Airport Commission for the city to continue to provide airport management services at Alexander Field. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kellogg, to approve intergovernmental services agreement with Southwood County Airport Commission, attachment number 2. Motion carried. Item number 4 was review and consider for approval a referral from the Public Works Superintendent to purchase a Graco paint transfer pump and Graco line striper with laser dot. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kupishak, to purchase a Graco transfer pump for $6,156.52 and a Graco 17H 450 striper with dot laser for $6,309.88 from Sherwin-Williams of Wisconsin Rapids. Motion carried. Item number 5 was review and consider for approval a referral from the Public Works Superintendent to purchase a solar-powered traffic arrow board. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kubishak, to purchase a new solar arrow board, 40/50W panel, 12-volt batteries, 15 lights, and several arrow modes for $4,678.75 from TAPCO Traffic and Parking Control. Motion carried. Item number 6 was review and consider for approval a referral from the Public Works Superintendent to purchase one snowplow for an end loader. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kubishak, to purchase a 12-foot reversible plow for $15,964 and a 12-foot wing plow for $13,015 plus freight. Motion carried. Consider a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny claim from Brian Finner for damages to his vehicle. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kellogg, to deny the claim from Brian Finner for damages to his vehicle. Motion carried. Item number 8 was review and consider a request for a change order from OBG Ramble for design modifications related to the rail extension in the Rapids East Commerce Center. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kellogg, to approve the change for OBG Ramble for design modifications to the rail extension in the Rapids East Commerce Center. Motion carried. Item number 9 was beverage operator licenses. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kellogg, to approve the beverage operator licenses. A list of those for approval is on file. Motion carried. Item number 10 was audit of the bills. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kellogg, to approve check number 4572 to 85826. Motion carried. Item number 11 was review and approve the Finance Committee budget meeting schedule. The committee reviewed and discussed the proposed meeting schedule. No action was taken. See attachment number 3. Item number 12 was set the next meeting date. The next regularly scheduled Finance and Property Committee meeting will be held November 4th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. Item number 13 was adjournment. It was moved by Coth, seconded by Kubishak, to adjourn, and the meeting adjourned at 5:15 p.m. I will ask to hold out item number 2, and I'll see if anyone else wants any other items held out before I move for adoption. All right. Seeing nothing else wanting to be a holdout, I will move for adoption of the report holding out item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Coth. And we have a second by Mr. Kellogg. Any further discussion on the balance of the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes and 0 nays. Mr. Coth?
Thank you, Your Honor. Evidently, as we look out into the meeting room tonight, we see that we have a full house. And this is another one of those issues that have brought a lot of people here to see us this evening. So I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of landlords out there, and I would be willing to send this back to committee for review. But in doing so, somebody has to be responsible for these bills. Landlords have a point that it's not necessarily fair to penalize them because of the way housing is. They can't necessarily pick and choose every single one of their tenants. But I don't feel it's right to put a rate increase over everybody in the city, because to me, that just creates an exponential problem that we're short this much this year, so we put a rate increase in, and then we're short another amount next year, so then we have to do another rate increase, and it keeps exponentially growing. While I'm speaking on this, a couple things that over the last couple days have come up is I've been accused that we do this business in back room with smoke and mirrors and we don't notice these meetings. I'm going to say that as complete and utter bullcrap that these meetings are not noticed. Anybody can attend the committee meetings. They are publicly noticed. And if you want to know when the meetings are, you can get on an email from the clerk's office and have the agenda sent to you by email. I also got 3 very obscene, very obnoxious messages sent to me while I was sleeping. Go to work, I work 16-hour days from 11 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock the next day in the afternoon. For the people that left the obscene messages, if you want a phone call back at 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm on my lunch break, I'll call you back at 2 a.m. But this is a couple of times a month job. It's not my full-time job that pays my bills to support my family either. And there was a time and day when elected officials got a little bit more respect as opposed to somebody calling their phone and dropping the F-bomb about 15 times. To me, that is completely unacceptable. But with that said, I will make a motion to send this back to committee to hammer something out to find a different way to collect these bills that would be more palatable, whether it's Waterworks and Lighting creating a security deposit, or if it's them credit checking the worthiness of the people before they get hookup, or if we do something like create a community care program for people that feel so inclined to make a donation for those that are less fortunate, if people would want to do a donation. But there has to be something that is done to satisfy these bills that is, in my opinion, I'd like to see the responsibility for the bills put on the people that are incurring them. If someone wants to run their light all night long, then they should pay for it, not everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Goth. Do we have a second by chance, or send it back to committee? Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Mr. Catno.
Thank you. I'll be honest, I was actually shocked to see that this made it through committee to the Common Council meeting tonight. In my opinion, the thought of penalizing other people for electricity that they did not use is just pretty crazy. There's collection through other methods, as Mr. Koth mentioned. He talked about a couple of those. I think those need to be explored thoroughly before we would ever consider something like this. These landlords invest in our community, and I think we need to be grateful for that, especially at a time when we have the mill closure, and we're going to see more and more houses come up for sale that could become investments and be rentals in our community. But who's going to want to do that with another disencouragement to purchase rentals in this area? And this is a big chunk. These electric bills can be racked up to hundreds of dollars. They could get up to $1,000 in some places. We just went through this with the special assessments as well. Nobody wanted to see those on their tax roll. We started to work our way around that, and now we're making our way back to putting something else on the tax roll and making taxes higher for certain people. So I'm not in favor of this at all. I do think there is a lot of people who came here tonight to speak their word on it, and although I don't disagree with sending it back to committee, I hope that as they came here tonight, they get to speak their word on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
Yes, I have one question, one thing that has come up in some of the numerous conversations I've had with several people over the last few days on this item. I just want to understand, and maybe WWLC can clarify this. If a tenant is in the... Oh, no problem. If a tenant is in arrears and basically goes on, scoots at the end of the bill, then the landlord, I guess the theory is we'd put the landlord on hook for this. If that landlord goes and pays that bill, then in effect, then the tenant could go and rent another place and they wouldn't have a bad debt on their record. Is that correct? Can you answer that from WLLC? Because I just want to make sure that, how do you chase them that way?
Sure. Jeff Kuhn, Finance Director, Waterworks
Jeff.
and Lighting. Right now, what would happen in that case, I'm sorry. Sure. Right now, like what happens with the past due water that's legally obligated to go on the tax roll, the landlord gets a lien that they can place on the tenant's personal property. It's the landlord's right and their decision if they decide to file that with the clerk of courts and pursue action that way. But what happens with the other municipal utilities in the state is the same process.
Well, so in effect, if that tenant did jump town and went to apply for a rent, there wouldn't be anything on his record that he was in bad debt because now the landlord has paid it. So that property owner paid it. So and technically, now we've got another person that can go out and in a background check they would pass. So that's kind of concerning to me. Thanks.
Okay, sure.
Oh, and also, Jake, you had mentioned about other people being able to speak. I did recognize Ms. Dean Ramsden to speak if you'd like, so I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dean. I'm also part of the Wisconsin Rapids Apartment Association, and yeah. Okay. I'm also part of the Wisconsin Rapids Apartment Association, and Steve, I know you very well, and I apologize if there was anybody from our association that called you. I hope they didn't, and if they did, please let me know because I feel like we should deal with that as the members. So I feel it's unprofessional if it did come from our association. So. I'm really glad to hear your comments, Steve, about sending it back to committee. I think that's very encouraging, and same with you, Jake, and same with you, Dean, that you recognize that we do have a lot on our plates that we face as landlords. I think majority of us or all of us are concerned about the tenants, and we do try to take care of them and make sure that we're not gouging them on rent, and we are already strapped with the water and sewer bill that's already given to us. Besides the maintenance and taxes and insurance and collections and maintenance staff. And so I'm really glad to see the council, for those of you who have spoke against this, that you really recognize that we invest into this community. I'm born and raised here. Been here for 53 years. I love Wisconsin Rapids. I invest in this community, and it's nice to be recognized as well for that. And I think all those behind me have those same feelings. And we do run it as a business, and so I do appreciate everything that you said.
Thank you, Dean. Does Mr. Zerflu, would anybody recognize Mr. Zerflu? Mr. Bemke, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Joe, that was Mike. For Mike.
Thank you. Steve, I will echo what Dean said too. I've had conversations with many of you guys over the years, and nobody should ever treat you rudely. So I don't know who that was, but you and I had a conversation. I think we've always had good conversations. So I don't think it was anybody. I'm hoping it was nobody from our association. That being said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but water and light, my understanding, I've been disappointed in this water and sewer situation for many years. If you're behind 1 penny with your water and sewer, that'll show up as a late notice or whatever on your next bill, and they have the legal right to disconnect you after, I think it's 20 days or 21 days. You can maybe answer that. We don't have that luxury. If you're renting from me, we have to give you a notice, and we go through the process. We go to small claims court. If you object, sometimes it can take 2 months or more. And then when you have situations with this coronavirus that we have, it can take even longer. There's a moratorium on evictions. That being said, I think it's so difficult. My cell phone, I'm sure you guys all have cell phones. We pay more for this because of people that don't pay their bills. It's a cost of doing business. It's factored in. Natural gas, we all pay more for our natural gas because of people that don't pay their gas bills. It's a cost of doing business, it's factored in. I could go on and on with that. The bottom line is, it's difficult enough to be a landlord. Believe me, I think if you guys were in our shoes. I have personally paid millions of dollars to the city of Wisconsin Rapids over the course of my 37 years in property taxes and other fees, et cetera. And this is just more money that it's a cost of doing business to run a utility company. That's my opinion. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zerflu. Mr. Kellogg.
I'd just like to have Jeff Kuhn explain the problem with water and light and how much money are they in the rear on their budget. So Jeff, could you, to see the scope of it. So when we do address it later on, we have an idea of what's entailed.
Sure. Yeah. In March, as everybody knows, in March of 2020, when the governor kind of started the public health emergency, the Public Service Commission at that time barred the utilities from disconnecting any utility service for non-payment. And today, there's still not enough of a deterrent in place for a customer that chooses not to pay his or her utility bill. So the last time we looked at this was on October 13th. Total past due receivables are up to about 37%, or just over $1 million of total receivables, compared to 20% at the same time last year. So there's definitely a problem that's increasing at the utility today. Yeah, I guess that's the main point. Yep. Yeah, so it was about $1 million past due that we, as of today, have no real recourse to attempt to collect.
Can I ask a question before you sit down? Thank you. What efforts are you taking to collect that past due debt?
Today?
Yeah.
We have sent out calls to people that are past due. Further collection efforts have been prohibited by the Public Service Commission, so we cannot send them to a collection agency at this point. So we've sent notices, we've sent letters. They get notices on their bills every month that say that they're behind. I believe we sent out calls May, June, July to these people that are behind.
So just to be clear, we're not even talking about the typical bill that a landlord might be stuck with in this situation. If someone decides to leave their rental residence, they could be having bills dating back to spring until who knows when this ends, correct?
We have customers that haven't paid since last August of 2019. So,
right.
Yes, it's a big issue. I don't think it's the utilities' plan to say our one effort, if we get down this road ever to tax roll electric, is that's our only avenue to collect. If somebody would stop service today, that would wait until the next year for being on the tax roll and knowing that payment's not going to come through until July of the following year. So you're almost 2 years out before you would see any money from that amount that would go on the tax roll. We have other tools. We use the TRIP program with the Department of Revenue, the State Debt Initiative, and we also have a collection agency that we work with. We'd much rather use those tools where applicable. This would just be another tool when those things would not work.
Thank you for the clarification there. I just wanted to make everyone aware that some of these bills that landlords could see if this passes are not even going to be the typical backed up water or electric bill. So these could be even larger than that. All of a sudden, a large influx to a landlord could be devastating.
Thank you. Mr. Koth?
Can I just ask
a
question? How many customers, electric customers, is water like that? About 14,000. May I make one more comment? Yeah, I was just going to yield time to anybody that wanted to speak. Do you want to?
Go ahead, Mike.
You're saying you're about $1 million in arrears right now, is that correct? So if you take $1 million, divide it by 12 months, divided by 14,000, it's a very minimal amount. I'm trying to get to my calculator here. $1 million divided by 12, divided by
$5.95 a month. Obviously, this is uncharted territory for all of us in this corollary. That's what it will affect the average person. I can look at a statement right there. I have, I believe it's $551 and some cents of water and sewer that I have paid. They could have disconnected from the previous people. That's several months of water and sewer. It's very easy for them to get 100% collection if this rule passes. I think the average person.
Is your mic on, Mike? Is your microphone on?
There it is now, I'm sorry. So the average, if they did zero collections with that, it's $5.95 per customer right now. The average person isn't going to necessarily recognize that. Do I want my bill to go up $5.95? No, I don't. But I certainly don't want to be responsible for thousands and thousands of dollars. I think you'll create more of a problem with distressed properties, the city getting them back, less taxes paid. I understand they've got a loophole that they can try to do this, but speaking from as a landlord, and I can't speak for all the landlords, but I believe they would agree, that's less money we have to stick back into our properties to pay taxes, et cetera. And it's not $5.95 it's going to cost us, it's thousands, because these tenants milk the system. They know how to play the game. And I would think you could agree to that when the moratorium is on. Water and Light knows that the tenants, they play the game too. And we don't have any control. We could say, disconnect them. They say, no, we can't. We're not going to. I've done that. I've tried to call Water and Light, and they will not disconnect them because it's not in our name. But yet we're forced to be responsible for it. So again, I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike. Jay? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was also just going to yield time to anybody else in the audience that would like.
yeah, I think Jay was up next.
My name is Sue Wader. My husband and I have 6 properties, and right now, due to COVID, there's no evictions. There's no 5-day notices. We're not responsible for somebody else's bills. I can't get cable and bill it to somebody else. I can't get internet and TV and bill it to somebody else. They're not services that we use when it's somebody else's water and light, electricity, or when we bought a home recently, my husband just bought another one. He inherited a $714.35 past due electric and water total. He didn't even own the home when the service was being used. If this code gets passed, or this ordinance gets passed, he's responsible for that if they don't pay it. They've been put on a payment plan. That is what Water and Light does. They give these renters a payment plan. The renter is not even making the minimum payment. The minimum payment she is supposed to make is $50. You take a $700 bill and you pay $50 a month, and you add your new charges of $100 it was last month we asked her. It will go up as winter goes along. When will this bill be paid? It won't. It won't happen. We don't have the ability to say we don't want them on a payment plan. We can't get it disconnected. It's a total loss for the landlord. I offer the option of a security deposit. It's the only way that we can maybe somehow offset this and not only do the security deposit, but an additional charge for every customer that is with Water and Light. And I'd like to end with a famous quote from Ronald Reagan. We must reject the idea that every time a law is broken, society is guilty rather than the lawbreaker. It is time to restore the American precept that each individual is accountable for his actions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Bemke?
I just have a quick question for Jeff, and then I will give the rest of my time to Jamie. So, Jeff, if I understand this correctly, did we miss a deadline for this on October 15th? And does this push us back out into next year sometime before you can start collecting this?
Yeah, the way the statutes read, every year by October 15th is when you have to notify whoever's in arrearages at that time. if it be a landlord-owned property or a homeowner-owned property, they need to be notified by October 15th. So with the water and sewer, that gets done every year. That already happened. This would be too late for this point, so it would be another year before it would even be a possibility.
So I'm just asking your opinion. So if this went back to committee, we do have a little time that we could maybe put a user group together, discuss some of the suggestions, problems, solutions, whatever
Definitely.
we have.
Definitely.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Jamie? Okay.
So my name is Jamie White, and I really appreciate all the time that everybody has taken to talk to me. There's just a few of you that I haven't talked to, and I'm very thankful to hear, Jake, your perspective even this evening. I completely agree with the personal responsibility side. And even the few non-landlords that I've spoken with have said, that's ridiculous. You know, we need to be responsible for our own bills. And I personally want to see my kids and the future generations learning how to be responsible, not necessarily putting laws in place that take that responsibility away. And I know that Marshfield and Plover, currently, it seems like they do not put the responsibility of the electric on the landlords, or I should say on the tax bill. But just to clarify in some of the numbers, Waterworks and Lighting has about 14,000 customers, as he had mentioned. It sounds like about a third of those customers are landlords, and about 70% of the balance that's in arrears is tenant debt. So I do agree that we have an interest in what's happening, and I think that we can be part of the solution and coming up with, if there is a user group that's created, I'd love to be a part of that. I have a huge interest in collections. I happen to do it every day. When you're in business, one part of that is collections. And it concerns me a little bit when I listen to Jeff with Waterworks and Lighting, and even I spoke with Lynn and Sarah there also, that they seem to have the impression that there's nothing that they can do. And I know sometimes it seems like that, especially with the order that's currently in place. I think what's happening is ridiculous. To say that people do not need to be disconnected, it's gone even further than that. Not only can they not disconnect service through November 1st, but if somebody leaves the property and wants to move to a new residence, they can't even deny them service in a new property right now. So even though they know that they're past due and they're not paying electric customers, they still have to set them up. So I think that, the Public Service Commission and the governor's order has really done a lot of people a disservice. There's a lot of money available through government programs, but I don't think people have a reason to go after that government money. And I'd like to be a part of that change. And then even what was mentioned, that calls are happening, he mentioned, if you listen, May, June, and July, calls were made. So I don't know with the government order if they were not even allowed to attempt to collect a debt, but I know that if you stop calling, they're gonna stop paying. And if, in my business, if we stop texting, they don't pay us. There's a certain percentage that doesn't open their mail, they definitely don't answer their voicemails, and, or listen to their voicemails. So I would like to see that this be at a minimum sent back to committee. Of course, I would request that it be denied completely, but I do think that there are some things that could be put in place to address the fact that there is a huge past due amount that's in arrears. It's terrible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So the motion on the floor right now is to send it back to committee. Oh, sorry, Joe Zerflu, you have something to say?
Yeah, it's no problem. You confused me the last time.
I'm sorry, we've got Mike here also.
That's all right. Yeah, I just want to say I was thinking about this, and to me, it's a little different situation. I know the chronic nuisance ordinance wasn't popular with the landlords, but some of that made sense to me. If a tenant's not taking care of their yard, well, then the landlord should be responsible for that. But to me, this is kind of a different animal. I mean, you're potentially making them be on the hook for goods and services consumed by somebody else. I don't know that I agree with that. I do have a question though. As a utility, is Waterworks and Lighting somehow, can't they go through collections through Department of Revenue, or would that not apply to them? Because I know a lot of municipalities have very good luck going that route.
And go ahead, Jeff.
Mr. Zerflu, yes, we do utilize both Department of Revenue programs, the TRIP program, Taxpayer Refund Intercept program, and the SDC, or the State Debt Collection Initiative.
That answer your question, Joe?
Okay. Yeah, it does. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cole?
There's a fellow with his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In my time as a landlord, I've made many calls to Water and Light about tax intercept. That's a tool that we don't have as landlords. They have it. I've called as soon as someone moves out with an outstanding bill. I have yet to ever see them collect one. They always have some reason why I don't hit the time frame for that to happen. So by the next year, they roll it onto my bill and it's done. I pay it. You know, so I think that's a tool that they have, we don't have for collection. Typically, tenants get tax refunds. I don't have access to it. They do, but they don't utilize it.
Can you state your name for the record, too? Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on the motion to send it back to committee? Oh, I'm sorry, Scott.
I don't mind going back to the committee, but I like to be aggressive in dealing with it. You know, I just don't want to procrastinate. And I like to see somehow having Water and Light sit down with the landlords, representatives, and the committee and deal with it and within the next 2 months. Maybe it's difficult, or by the end of January because of December and the holidays, et cetera, et cetera. But if we're going to do it, because the cost for the Water and Light is so extensive, and I do understand and I hear what the landlords are saying, but it's a significant problem for everybody. So I hope that we could aggressively sit down and deal with it and come up with some compromise as soon as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just like to go back and explain to all the landlords that are here this evening, back on the 6th of October, the reason this made it this far is because when this was at our committee, there was only 2 people here from Water and Light that explained to us, hey, we have a problem with past due bills. They made a presentation. Nobody was here to speak for or against it. Made sense. We send it, somebody has to pay the bills, you know? It's probably a bad excuse that landlords weren't thought of, but nobody was here to speak on it. So I really hope with this going back to committee that a lot of you come to the next committee meeting and participate in the process to come up with something that's more palatable to collect on these bills. In the end, at the end of the day, what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see personal responsibility on the derelicts that are not paying their bills. We have an entire generation of slackers that rent houses, have credit cards, take out loans, use utilities, and that they don't pay for it. And I don't think anyone else should have to pay for anyone else's bill. If you're too daggone irresponsible to pay your bills, live at home with mommy and daddy for the rest of your life and have them balance your checkbook for you, but quit expecting everyone else to do it for you. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does somebody want to yield some more time? Okay, Mr. Kellogg. Yeah, go ahead, sir. State your name, please.
My name is Kevin Koskell. I do have 10 properties. I do know that there's a moratorium on shutting off the electric in the wintertime, but I do believe I was told by them today or yesterday that they can shut off the water. Is that correct? So really, I mean, if you're talking about the derelicts and all that, if they are behind, shut off the water, you know, are they gonna come up with some money at that time to do the water and the electric? I mean, right, it is coming back on us right now, and I don't know if they're not shutting off the water because they know the water is gonna come on the tax bill, but if they, once they're behind, shut off the water in the wintertime, and in the summertime, they can shut off the electric and they can shut off the water at that time too. I mean, I think that would also be a deterrent for people to not pay their bills. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess there's been some discussion about meeting notices, and I spoke with the landlord group today, and I also spoke with our IT director, and so we're going to get a spot on the website where you can sign up, and you can put your email address in so you can get signed up for the meeting notices, and we're going to have that available on the website when we get that up and running. So then you can sign up and you can kind of review the notices and stay on top of that. Thank you. Anything further? We have a motion and a second to send it back to committee. Seeing none, please cast your ballot. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. We'll see you all again. Thank you. Mr. Koth, Finance and Property from October 13th. You might as well probably read October 15th right away,
Not a problem.
since there's no action.
Property and Finance Committee meeting was held Tuesday, October 13th, 2020 at 4:30 PM. All members of the committee were present except for Alderperson Kubishak, who was excused. Alderperson Koth attending remote. Also in attendance was Alderperson Veneman, Alderperson Bemke, Mayor Blazer, Tim DeSorcy, and Alderperson Rayon via remote. The meeting was called to order at 4:30 PM. The item was the 2020 budget review. Finance Director Tim DeSorcy reviewed with the committee the 2021 preliminary budget summary. No action was taken. Set the next meeting date. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 15th, 4:30 PM. Item number 4 was adjourned. It was moved by Cole, seconded by Kellogg to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 5:20 PM. The Thursday meeting was October 15th, 2020. The meeting was called to order at 4:30 PM. Members of the Property and Finance Committee were present except for Alderperson Kubishak and myself. Alderperson Rayom sat in for me. In attendance were Alderpersons Veneman, Alderperson Bemke, Mayor Blazer, Joe Eichstedt, Tim DeSorcy, and Joe Terry. Meeting was called to order at 4:35 PM. The 2020 budget review with emphasis on engineering and public works construction fund. City engineer Joe Eichstedt reviewed with the committee the 2021 engineering department and public works construction fund budget request. No action was taken. Item number 3 was to set the next meeting date. The next budget meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 5 PM. Item number 4 was adjournment. It was moved by Kellogg, seconded by Rome to adjourn, and the meeting adjourned. With that, I move for adoption of these minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Koth. We have a motion by Koth. Voting. And a second by Mr. Catnaugh. Is there any further discussion on the budget? Sorry, the budget minutes from finance? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next item is Public Works meeting minutes. Yes, if somebody from public, thank you, Mr. Catnaugh.
The Public Works Committee meeting was held on Tuesday, October 6, 2020 at 6 PM via video conference and in the council chambers at City Hall. Tom Rayom, Jake Catnaugh, and Dean Veneman were present. Others attending are on file in the clerk's office. Item number 1, call to order. Meeting was called to order at 6 PM. Item 2, review the DPW report. The DPW report was reviewed. Item 3, review assessment report, public outreach, and discuss next steps. An assessment summary report, link to the report, and survey is available online at wirapids.org. Residents are encouraged to visit the page and provide input by taking the survey. Item number 4, review request correspondence with the DOT and state elected officials to enumerate the reconstruction of 8th Street South. Reviewed correspondence requesting the DOT enumerate 8th Street South. Item number 5, consider a revision of the parking ordinance to allow additional street parking on 12th Street South, immediately south of Chestnut. Motion by Veteman, second by Rayom, to modify 2713 as follows. Chapter 2713, Parking Regulations, Para 1, no parking. A, parking prohibited at all times. Streets beginning with the letter T. Item I, 12th Street South, the east side from 50 feet north of Chestnut Street to 50 feet south of Chestnut Street. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 6, review the referral list. The referral list was reviewed. Due to the election on November 3rd, the Public Works meeting will be rescheduled. Item number 7, adjourn. Motion by Rayom, second by Veteman. Motion carried 3-0. The meeting was adjourned at 6:26 p.m. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Mr. Catnaugh. We have a motion by Mr. Catnaugh, second by Mr. Koth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. Next report is the Human Resource Committee meeting held October 8th. And go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Kubishak.
Thank you. A meeting of the Human Resources Committee was held on Thursday, October 8th, 2020, in the first floor conference. I'm sorry, it was in the City Council chambers. Chairperson Kubishak called the meeting to order at 4:35 p.m. Item number 2, motion by Kubishak, second by Bemke, to approve sidebar agreement with IAFF Local 425 regarding continuation of the Community Cares Paramedic Program. Motion carried 3-0. A copy of this side agreement is attached to the minutes. Item number 3, motion by Kubishak, second by Zerflu, to approve a memorandum of understanding with IAFF Local 425 regarding the implementation of a 1 or 2 year trial work schedule. This schedule consists of 48 hours on duty, 98 hours off duty. Motion carried 3-0. A copy of the memorandum is attached to the minutes. Item number 4, motion by Kubishak, second by Bemke, to approve the revisions to a policy as presented, which provides for the reset of leave to 80 hours or 2-week equivalent and extends the leave to December 31st, 2020. This act supersedes what was recorded in the minutes from the meeting of September 3rd, 2020. Motion carried 3-0. A copy of the policy is attached to the minutes. Item number 5, HR management report. Mr. Hartman offered that report to the committee. Item number 6, adjournment. Motion by Bemke, second by Zerflu, to adjourn. Motion carried 3-0. The meeting adjourned at 4:59 p.m. And with that, if there isn't any other holdouts, I will make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kubishak. We have a motion by Mr. Kubishak, second by Mr. Koth. Any further discussion on that report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots.
Alderperson Zerflu.
Aye.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. We have 8 Human Resource Committee meeting held October 19th.
Thank you. A meeting of the Human Resources Committee was held on Monday, October 19, 2020, in the City Hall Council chambers. Members present, Bemke and Zerflu. Kubishak was absent. Others present are on file with the clerk's office. Item number 1, Secretary Zerflu called the meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. Item number 2, motion by Zerflu, second by Bemke, to approve replacement of the senior accountant position with an assistant director of finance position, and to approve the job description and compensation for the new position as presented. Motion carried 2-0. The job description is attached to the minutes. Item number 3, adjournment. Motion by Zerflu, second by Bemke, to adjourn. Motion carried 2-0. Meeting adjourned at 4:08 p.m. And with that, if there's any other holdouts, I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Kubaschak. We have a motion by Mr. Kubaschak, second by Mr. Bemke. Any further discussions? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. That motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. We have, next item is the Legislative Committee. Mr. Koth or Kubaschak?
I got it up, I can take it. The Legislative Committee held a meeting with remote video conferencing from City Hall on Tuesday, September 29th at 4:30 p.m. Alderperson Rayom, Kubaschak, and Koth remotely were present. Also present were Alderpersons Bemke, Kellogg, Sue Schill, Joe Bachman, Jennifer Gostick, Jim Brown, Jeff Kuhn, Kyle Kern remotely, Scott Young remotely, and Ron Janikowski remotely. The public was provided with a number to listen to the meeting. The meeting was also streamed live on City of Wisconsin Rapids' Facebook page. The meeting was called to order by Chairperson Rayom at 4:32 p.m. All members were present. First item for consideration was review and consider adoption and ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code to authorize the city clerk and deputy clerk as designated officials to issue beverage operator licenses as been recently allowed by change in state law. Motion by Kubaschak, seconded by Rayom, to approve the adoption of ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code to authorize the city clerk and deputy clerk as designated officials to issue beverage operator licenses. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. Item number 3 was review and consider for adoption an ordinance amending Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code to eliminate the reserve Class B retail alcohol license grant program because of changes in the state law which now prohibit such grants. Motion by Kubaschak, seconded by Koth, to approve for adoption an ordinance amending Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code to eliminate reserve Class B retail alcohol license grant program. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. Item number 4 was review and consider for adoption an ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code to reflect current state administrative code and statutes, SPS Chapter 316 and Section 10180 Wisconsin statutes, necessary because the city is requesting designation as an electrical inspection agency. It was motioned by Koth, seconded by Rayom, to approve the adoption of the ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code to reflect state administrative code and statutes, SPS Chapter 316 and Section 101.80 Wisconsin stats. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. Consider a referral from Alderperson Rayom for review of all committees, commissions, and boards. Specific consideration of A, Parks and Rec Commission responsibilities as requested by Park and Rec Commission. Motion by Koth, seconded by Kubaschak, to hold this item for further information regarding what other municipalities do and further clarifications on the responsibilities and authority of the commission as currently written. Motion carried 3-0. Item B, consider elimination of the following committees who have not met in years as requested and reviewed by Mayor Blazer: the ADA Advisory, Redevelopment Authority, Hazmat, and Industrial Development Commission. There's motion by Koth, seconded by Kubaschak, to eliminate the ADA Advisory Committee, the Hazmat Committee, and the Industrial Development Commission, and reassign those duties to other committees or commissions if necessary, and to eliminate and redevelop authority if it's not mandated or required under state law. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. The review of commissions, committees, and boards will continue to be a referral item for future meetings per the request of Chairperson Rayom. Item number 6 was review and consider for approval an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code to remove the Mayor's Youth Council as a subunit of the council. The council will continue as an informal group. Motion by Kubaschak, seconded by Koth, to approve the ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code to remove the Mayor's Youth Council as a subunit of council. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. Item number 7 was review and consider for approval an amendment of Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code, which would eliminate term limits for waterworks and lighting commissions. It was motioned by Kubaschak, seconded by Rayom, to approve the amendment to Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code, which would eliminate term limits for waterworks and lighting commissioners. Motion carried 3-0. See attached ordinance. Item number 8 was preliminary discussion regarding placing delinquent waterworks and lighting commission electric bills on a property tax bill. Motion by Kubaschak, seconded by Koth, to have the city attorney draft an ordinance to allow electric billings to be added to the property tax roll and to be placed on the Finance and Property Committee meeting agenda for October 6th. If not able to be placed on the finance agenda, then the ordinance would be presented on council meeting October 20th. Motion carried 3-0. Item number 9 was adjournment. It was motioned by Kubaschak, seconded by Koth to adjourn. The meeting adjourned at 4:54 p.m. With that, you want me to hold out item number 8 there, Mike?
No, number 7, maybe comment on that?
I'll hold out 7 and 8 and move for adoption of the report.
Thank you.
We have a motion to hold out or to adopt the balanced report, holding out items 7 and 8. Seconded by Mr. Kubaschak. Is there any further discussion on the balance of the report? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Affirmative. Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried 7 ayes, 0 nays. We'll take the first one, item number 7. Mr. Koth?
I'll yield time to Mr. Zerflu.
Is this on then?
Yes.
Thank you. And if we wouldn't even be here tonight if it wasn't for Jamie having a conversation with somebody knowing about this. When I believe in term limits, number 1. Number 2, if we own the land, if the rental properties consist of about a third of the taxpayers in the city of Wisconsin Rapids, it would only make sense to me that a landlord is placed on the commission. I would oppose this to have term limits, number 1. And instead of appointing, maybe you actually have people run for these positions. I've been to the water and light meetings, and it's just ramming stuff through. I've never seen anybody question it other than myself when I showed up, and they actually took out the public comment part of the water and light meetings because of me showing up. I was respectful, I would ask questions, but they got sick of me being there, so they took out the public comment part of it. The water and light is owned by the city, which is owned by the taxpayers, basically. It's not the other way around where water and light owns the city. And I strongly recommend you do not eliminate. They need term limits, and if anything, it should be an election for these, and then you'll start seeing more things get done and questions asked. Water and light said they want to work with the landlords. They could have notified any of us about this before that. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to try to pay better attention to these things, but if Water and Light truly wants to work with us, they should have notified of this ahead of time, and we could have tried to resolve this before it came to you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zerflu. And we'll have to check, but when we do have openings, we accept resumes and people of interest, and then they come to the council and then put their name in a hat, basically, and then the council members appoint somebody to fill that term. And we need to check on that. Mr. Katna?
Yeah, I'd just like to note I'm not in favor of any lifetime appointments, so I'll be voting against this. I think term limits are extremely important in any position.
Thank you. Mr. Kubaschak?
Thank you. I guess I never thought about anything until discussion has been brought up specifically for this, but one of the reasons why it was suggested to eliminate the term limits is because we can't find anybody.
Yep.
It's that simple. No one will put their name in the hat.
I tried. They wouldn't take one.
Did you do it to the mayor? The mayor makes the appointment and the council makes the confirmation.
I'll make sure I do.
And you have to be a city resident. Second thing is that it can't be elected for the commission. The commission has to be appointed. There's a reason why and we talked about this at the legislative committee meeting on earlier items. There's reasons why there's commissions because it pulls the politics out of it. It's confirmed by the council. The mayor makes the appointment for the commissions and the council makes the confirmation. That's how it works. So I wish we had more opportunities where we could have I guess a 101, local government 101 to figure this out. It's amazing.
Mr. Kellogg.
Really, we're not eliminating term limits. What the commissioner is on the commission for 5 years. And then they can run for another 5 years rather than that's it. You know, that term is up. So they can run, then run for another 5 years, then run for another 5 years. So it's not like it's lifetime. And the importance of that, if you go to the water and light, it's relatively sophisticated. The terminology, you got to get to know the employees, you got to get to know the operation. You just can't parachute in and do it. The people that are on the commission are well versed in that field. And it's not just getting someone off the street and say, we want you on the commission. You need to have people, and so the concern that the Water and Light Commission has, that after 5 years, each of the person's term is, I guess I want to say up, then they can reapply for another 5 years, and there might be someone else from the community that may want to vie for that position then. And then the next 5 years and so forth. So it's not lifetime. It's the idea that it's difficult to get somebody, like you mentioned, people aren't showing up, and then you need to get somebody, and they have to delve into that operation and get to know it, from looking at the budgets to everything else. So that's the concern that they had, and I've attended those for 8 years, and I've been on the commission for the last 2. And that's where I'm coming from. It's not just showing up. So it's not lifetime. It's the idea that they have to come to the council, they have to up it again, and if anybody from the community wants to come on board and give their side, we might vote for them. So that's what the intent of this is.
Thank you. Mr. Koth?
Thank you. I'll yield time to Jamie, but I just want to comment first that I know on our Parks and Rec Commission, there's an exception for non-residency, which the superintendent of the school board, regardless of where he or she may reside, is allowed to serve on the Park and Rec Board. And I do believe we have other commissions that don't require residency necessarily. And since Alderperson Rayom has left this on the legislative committee to be reviewed for commission assignments, we have a landlord here tonight that's asking to be involved in this commission. Subsequently, we identified that there's a problem collecting on power bills, and they're asking to be part of the discussion to do something about it. So I think maybe we should consider, when this goes, since Alderperson Rayom has left it on the agenda, maybe looking at adding a non-resident position with that's a property owner within the city to be on that commission as well too, because I mean, they certainly have an interest in what's going on if they own property here. And then I'll yield time to Jamie, as I said.
Thank you. Jamie?
Thank you, Steve. I really think that's a great idea, because both Mike and I, although we own property in Rapids, I live in the town of Grand Rapids, and I think he might too. And I completely agree with what you're saying, that is about not getting enough people involved. I mean, if you don't have enough people to pick from, then what are your options? And regarding the term limits, Mr. Kellogg, I think, I guess I was only reading what it said here, and so I didn't look at Chapter 2 of the municipal code, and so I can understand the dilemma, and so I was just looking for something that wouldn't be a lifetime appointment. So I definitely appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
Here.
Somebody willing to recognize Mr. Zerflu?
I'll recognize.
Thank you. Alderman Kubasak, I believe it used to be as long as you were paying your electric through Water and Light, that you could be on the commission, because I did fill out the form several years ago and ran, and then they changed it so you had to be a resident, because I'm not a resident, although I do have city water and I pay my electric through the city. So, and if there's other people that would be willing to be on, I'm sure, but I respect where you're coming from too. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
I have a question or
Yes,
comment.
go ahead.
It's related. It's related to the alderperson. If we're going to discuss this, I'd like to have the alderperson be on for a 3-year time and then up for 3 years and up for 3 years, rather than 1 year the person's on, next year the person's off, and another person's on, and so forth. It goes back to my initial comments, so I'd like to make a referral. So if you're going to revisit this, make it for 3-year periods, as long as the alderman's on, and then they have to up for another 3 years. Because, like I said, once you go to those meetings, it takes a whole year to get to. You have to visit the plants. You got to get to know employees. You got the whole year, and then now your year's up, and someone else might be on. So it would be whenever it comes up, which will probably come up in April of this year, whomever is placed on it as an alderperson, I'd like to suggest that it's a 3-year period and not just one at a time. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Kubaschak.
I just want to, I like your suggestion, Mr. Kellogg. The only concern that I've got, and this will be for City Attorney Sushil, in terms of can we actually do that? Because it seems like at the organizational meetings, all of our appointments are 1 year because of our terms, and a situation where if we put in the ordinance that someone carries a 3-year term and say they decide to leave the city council position or get beat or something, they're not in the position anymore. So then now the question is, are they still obligated, or do they have a right to be on that? That's what we got to find out. I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question. But I do see that is an issue. I mean, you're on there for 1 year and you're not, and then but one of the things too, though, is that the city council positions on there, the 1 or 2 position, I don't remember if we had a second one or not, they're observers, and it's specifically designed in the ordinance that it's a non-voting observer member who is maybe, and I wouldn't even use the word liaison because I think that that's too strong. You're maybe like a reporter that will report back to the common council. And again, the question is the legality of it, if we can actually have an elected official appointed because of that aspect of being a citizens commission itself, to remove politics from it. And again, it's one of those where we don't need to figure it out tonight, but I will support that. I don't have a problem supporting your initiative if that is something that we can do moving forward.
Yeah, I think previously, maybe a year or 2 ago, we eliminated the observer council members, and we converted Water and Light Commissioner's spot to an appointee from the Common Council. I think that was a couple of years ago. Well, yeah. Yeah, so that vacant position then became an alderman position on the commission. That's probably a year or so ago, year or 2 ago.
I have that position.
Yeah, Scott has that position.
This is my second year.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that at legislative. Mr. Koth.
Just absent of a motion on the floor and the discussion going back and forth, I don't think this is something we should do anything with tonight, so I would make a motion to send this item back to the legislative committee for further discussion with consideration of appointing a non-resident member who is a property owner in the city of Wisconsin Rapids to serve on the commission as well. Yep, make a motion to send this back to committee for review with further discussion on allowing a non-resident who owns property within the city of Wisconsin Rapids to also be able to serve on the commission.
I was just asking the city attorney, because the item is actually for, term limit, so, but anyways, apparently we can change that. So I have a motion and a second to send it, I'm sorry. Was that a referral, or was that to
I'll tell you what.
dispose of this item, or?
I can break it back into I can break it down into two parts. If you want to hit that, if you're amicable to holding your second, I'll make one motion to send this item back to committee for review, and a subsequent motion to make a referral to look at adding a non-resident position for a person that has property within inside the city limits. Okay, referral.
So just to clarify, we have a motion to send the discussion on term limits back to the legislative committee.
Yes. And a referral to,
Yeah, then we can add that at the end.
okay.
Mr. Kubiszak, is that second? Yeah, but I didn't know if you wanted, okay. So there's a motion and a second to send the item back to legislative committee.
You also have a J and Q to speak.
Yep, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Kubiszak? Thank you. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. And number 8?
Number 8, Mike, did you want to speak on item number 8? It was. Sure, if I can, I guess I'll just. Just to clarify this for you, when this item for putting the electric bills on the tax roll, it come to legislative committee first, and it was discussed at that committee, and that committee wasn't deemed the appropriate committee to make that decision. So they ran that to the Property and Finance Committee. So they're basically, all that come out of this committee was the referral to send it over to another committee. And then what we discussed at council tonight was going to go back to the Property and Finance Committee. But did you want to speak on it again, or?
I'll just briefly say thank you all for your time and allowing us to speak. And secondly, I reran the numbers based on that 70% is the tenants. The number works out to just under $4 a household. So $3 and some cents per household based on what they're saying, on the numbers that they're saying. So, but again, thank you very much for allowing us to speak, and I appreciate that, all of you.
Welcome. I'll make a motion to approve item number 8 as presented on the report.
So I have a motion to approve item 8 and a second by Mr. Katnaugh. Any further discussion?
Quick point of order. So,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Schill, what if we approve this, the motion on the floor to approve item number 8 as it is, we're approving that it was sent to finance. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Technically, they took action by sending it to committee. So there is technical action on it by sending it to committee.
Well, what we're doing is actually just accepting the minutes.
Right.
Is what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
You're correct.
Right?
Because that committee they can only make recommendations. That's why I went back to finance. Anyways, so any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerplu.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. I guess for a point of order, Attorney Schill? You- or-
Here. In the Planning Commission minutes, part of your packet, there was the language to change the light manufacturing, to identify the light manufacturing and include, put that in, those in zoning districts. And the ordinance was not part of the packet, but I have sent it to you. It's the exact same language, it's just in ordinance form, and I just wanted to make sure that that you were approving or could be approving the ordinance. As I said, it wasn't part of the packet, it was missed, so Kyle and I were just working on putting it together, so it has been emailed to you, and I guess what I'd ask is if you specifically confirm or make a motion to accept the ordinance as that's in front of you.
I tried to open it, it says file not found.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Mine opened up fine.
I sent an email. Which item? Oh, it's the Planning Commission. Planning Commission? Yeah. We thought instead of bringing it back next month, if we could get it together and you could review it. As I said, it's just has the preambles in the beginning and the proper form for an ordinance. So otherwise, if you want us to bring it back next month, that'd be okay too. But
Sue, I just have a question on this. If we just got this tonight, it wasn't part of the packet.
well, everything was in the packet. It just didn't have the ordinance preamble on the top, the
Okay.
number, nothing has changed. It's actually just cutting and pasting what was in your packet. So, I
The
mean, I guess
information is the same.
if you trust that it's the same language, then it's fine. If you want to have us bring it back, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance change as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion by Koh, seconded by Bemke. Any further questions or clarification? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Thank you. Next item is reports of other commissions, boards, and department reports. What are your wishes?
Make a motion to accept the balance of reports and place on file.
We have a motion by Mr. Koth, seconded by Mr. Katna. Any further discussions? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Mr. Zerflu?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried, 7 ayes, 0 nays. Item 11 is referral of communications to committees. We have a referral from Mr. Koth to allow a non-resident to be on, or is it just a non-resident, right?
Yep.
Or non-resident, okay, non-resident property owner on the Water Lake Commission, and Mr. Kellogg,
Or 3-year terms.
3-year
for
term on the Water Lake.
alderperson.
For the alderperson
Yeah.
representative.
All right.
Any others? Okay. That brings us to the last item. Just want to thank everybody. Also, those that are still remaining or enduring. We have voting going on at City Hall. Please be respectful and patient. They had a lot of voters go through successfully today. So just be aware of that. Last day, I'm sorry. It was a rough day. Last item is adjournment. What are your wishes?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Koth, second by Catna. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.